Truth. Unforbidden Truth. Podcast.
At the Tennessee Department of Corrections, West Tennessee State Penitentiary.
Hey, good evening.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm sitting in front of the computer right now with James in his class right now. You ready to answer some questions tonight?
Yeah.
All right. So can we start out having you talk about what you're in prison for?
Sure. I'm in prison for 2 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of facilitation of first-degree. I was homeless, and I was living with in a homeless camp with my 2 male co-defendants and my female co-defendant as well. And one night, there were some people that were hanging out with us. We were all drinking that night, and one of the guys, he got mad and spit on my female co-defendant, Lacey, and he ended up backing away from her, and when he backed away from her, he tripped over my foot, and then he turned around and kicked me because I guess he thought I did it on purpose. And then from there it just went to hell. My 2 male co-defendants started shoving him back and forth between the 2 of them, and at one point a 2x4 with rusty nails sticking out of it was picked up, and he was hit over the head with the 2x4. And he went down on the ground, and I don't know if he was knocked unconscious, but he just kind of stopped moving at that point. And my male co-defendant Brandon got on top of him and started hitting him in the face and strangling him with his bare hands. Brandon called me over there and told me to put my hand over his nose and his mouth, and I knew that if I didn't help him, that something would happen to me. And I was later proved right, because 2 more people died that night because they were witnesses to that first murder. So when he told me to come and put my hand over his nose and his mouth, I did that, and this lasted maybe a minute or so. I'm not quite sure how long. And then he stood up and I stood up, and then him and Josh, I don't know where my other co-defendant Josh was at the time, but he had walked off somewhere, and then everybody else was just sitting around the campfire. It was another female besides my co-defendant Lacey. Her name was Grace, and Colin. And Colin, after Brandon and Josh had walked away, just kept saying, I think he's dead, and I was trying to tell him, no, he's not dead, he's just knocked out. I was just trying to get him to basically be quiet so that Josh and Brandon wouldn't hear him, because I knew if they heard him saying that, it would be a bad situation. And so he just kept saying, I think he's dead, and I was just I just kept saying, no, he's unconscious, he'll get up in a minute. Well, next thing I know, I see Josh standing there listening to Colin saying this, and then I guess he went and got Brandon, and him and Brandon called me over there, and they were having a discussion about how we were going to have to kill them, talking about Grace and Colin and Lacey, and I managed to talk them out of killing Lacey, saying, oh, she's a part of our group, she won't turn against us or anything like that. She's a part of our group, but they wouldn't listen to me about Colin and Grace. They said that they needed to be killed, and me and Lacey were going to have to help them. So a whole plan was devised where Lacey would have sex with Colin to get him to basically go to sleep so that he could be killed. And she did that, and then after he ended up going to sleep after they had sex, we all went in. Me, Brandon, and Josh went into the tent where he was asleep at, and I sat on his lower legs while Josh held his upper torso down, and everybody just took a turn, me, Brandon, and Josh, beating him and strangling him. And then he ended up, he died. I don't know how long that lasted. It was a pretty quick process, I guess. And then at some point, I wasn't there for, there was another tent where Grace was at, and Brandon and Josh, they killed her, and they said it was the same way that she was beaten, strangled, just like Ryan and Colin. And I helped, that's where my facilitation comes in. I helped move her body, hide her body after the fact. So that's what I'm in here for.
One of the questions, Hope, is if you could talk to the victims one last time, what might you say since everything happened so quickly?
I could talk to them one last time. I definitely would have, I feel like I would have tried to help them rather than, participate in their murder. I feel like I would have, maybe if we all would have just got up and ran away, maybe none of this would have happened. But I would say I'm sorry, and that I'd say a lot of things. Mainly, I'm sorry. I regret what happened, but I would definitely, I guess, try to convince them to run away with me, to get away from the whole situation.
Was there any thought of getting away with it, or any thoughts of consequences?
There was definitely there was a plan of at some point trying to run away to Florida. For some reason, it was going to be Florida after the fact, and I knew at some point, just deep down, I knew that we weren't ever going to get away with this forever. I didn't expect it to be as quickly, it was within 24 hours that we got arrested, but I knew that we were eventually going to get caught. Eventually, we were going to go to prison. I just wasn't sure when.
Another question in the chat, Hope, is do you have a relationship with your children right now to this day?
No, I do not. I have not spoken to either of my children since before I got locked up. About 3 days before I got locked up, to be exact. Yeah, and it's not due to me not wanting to speak to them. The people, their great-grandparents that they were living with, would not allow me to have contact with them, and now the lady that has adopted them doesn't really allow me to have any contact with them either.
Have any of your co-defendants tried to reach out to you since you've been incarcerated?
Yes, I actually used to stay in contact with my male co-defendant, Brandon. I used to write him quite frequently when we first were arrested in the county jail as well as here in prison. But he just, he crossed a lot of boundaries that I had set up, and he has a lot of fantasies and stuff that I don't agree with. He's quite proud of what he did and what we did, and I don't have those same feelings. I have a lot of remorse and regret and wish I could go back and change things. And he does not feel that way, so I cut off contact with him due to those reasons.
Do you know what some of those fantasies were that when he did cross the line with you? Do you remember them?
Yes, it was that the main one was that his sexual fantasies were the age group of the people that he was fantasizing about kept getting younger and younger, and it started getting to the point where my daughter is almost she'll be 13 in April, and when his age group started dipping into the minor age, it just became too much for me, and I couldn't handle all of his fantasies about stuff like that, because I have kids.
Hope, since you've been incarcerated, have you had any type of nightmares or bad dreams about what you're incarcerated for?
Oh yeah, I used to have them all the time. I still do occasionally. When I first got locked up, I had to get on sleeping medication to help me get to sleep and stay asleep because, and I would take something for the side effect of nightmares. And I would have like nightmares where like I would keep, replaying what happened. And there was actually at one point when I first got to prison that I kind of had a bit of a mental breakdown, an emotional breakdown. It was the first time I really was allowing myself to deal with my conscience and allow myself to process everything, because being in county jail, I was trying to despite the fact that I was guilty, I was trying to fight for my freedom, and I couldn't allow myself to process or deal with anything or talk about anything. So when I first talked about with some people what had happened and what I was in here for, it was very temporary, and I haven't had anything like that since. But like I would sometimes see like this. It was like a creature, like was on four legs, and it would like had my victims. Like it would alternate between my victims' faces on the head of this creature, and I would hear. Mainly, it was like Grace. For some reason, she bothered me the most. I think because I actually knew her before all this. The other two I didn't really know as well, Ryan and Colin. But I had somewhat of a friendship with Grace, the one that I had the facilitation charge over. And I just would mostly hear and see her, and this is your fault. She would be saying, like, this is your fault, Hope, you did this, and just stuff like that. And so, yeah, I've definitely had some nightmares and some reliving of, everything that happened.
Another question is, what's your life plan after you get released from prison?
Oh, I really, to be honest, haven't thought too much of it because I still have quite a while to go, at least 16 more years, if not longer, because I have a 30-year sentence. And I've done almost 10. I just plan on trying to get out and reconnect with my kids. I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm going to do work-wise when I get out. There are things that we can do in prison, like as far as vocational stuff, classes, and things like that. But I'm just still trying to figure out exactly where my life or what my life's going to be like and where it's going to be headed, like when I do eventually get out.
Hope, do you get to have a job while in prison there?
Yes, I do. I have a job where I work as like I guess you could call it a call center representative, and I am on phone all day and just setting up like appointments for people. It varies. It's different campaigns that we do, and it changes up. But I'm also an inmate observer. Which basically means that I go to the infirmary and I watch people that are on suicide watch and make sure that they're not doing anything to hurt themselves.
So there's another two-part question. Has your experience changed your views on religion? And if you still are religious, have you thought about if you would go to heaven?
My experience has not changed my views on religion. I still consider myself Christian, and I just believe that once saved, always saved. You just have to ask for forgiveness. I was saved before this happened, and I feel like I am still saved. It's just I messed up really bad, and I have to ask for forgiveness. It's easy, it's easy to ask for forgiveness, but it's harder for me to forgive myself. That's where I struggle, is forgiving myself for what I did.
Is this the first prison you've been to? And if it hasn't been, have you ever been incarcerated where you've gotten fights or people have tried to start fights with you?
This is actually my very, very first time being in prison. I've never actually even been to jail before this, like for a misdemeanor or anything. I got a couple of a little bit of trouble as a juvenile, like for fighting and things like that, running away. But as far as an adult, this is literally the first time I've ever been in trouble. But while being locked up here over the course of my almost 10 years now, I've gotten in a few fights. It just tends to happen when you're in prison, and if you don't defend yourself, then you become more of a target for people. So I don't approve necessarily of the violence, but at the same time, if I don't defend myself and fight back, then I would become an even bigger target here in prison.
Hope, this question is from James. Since being incarcerated in a woman's prison, have you ever had any issues with any, specifically male guards being inappropriate or, anything of the sort?
I have not personally. You hear of it happening, but I personally have never been approached like that by a male guard. I've heard of, you hear stories of women doing things with male guards, but like I said, I've never personally gone, or experienced anything like that. Thank God.
Are you allowed to get contact visits, or do you get non-contact visits in there?
As long as you're not on max here in prison, you are allowed contact visits. I'm not quite sure how it goes because I've never really done a visit in here. But I believe they have a row of chairs where inmates sit, and then across from each other is another row of chairs where visitors sit. I'm not sure if it's for COVID purposes. I think because it used to be tables, I believe, that inmates and their visitors would sit at. But then when COVID happened, they, I guess, wanted some social distancing.
Another question is, do you have any support from your friends or family outside of prison?
No, not really. I've met I've met a lot of people in here, so I've made some new friends. But as far as the people that I knew before coming to prison, pretty much everybody has just fallen off. I do talk to my children's grandmother. Maybe about once a year, she'll answer the phone. Both of my parents have died since being incarcerated, and I grew up in foster care, so I don't really know a lot of my other family.
Hope, do you feel like being in foster care had any, I guess, bearing on what happened to you later on in life? Specifically, talking about becoming incarcerated.
I do feel that when I was with my co-defendants, they were portraying themselves like, oh, we're just one big happy family, we'll be your family type thing. So it just kind of gave me something that I had been, I feel like they kind of, I guess, preyed on a weakness that I have, of wanting family and feeling like I need family because I felt like I never had that. And they use that to their benefit, like, oh, well, we're your family, you should show us loyalty, and, we'll be there for you even when nobody else is type of thing. So it just gave me, I guess, a twisted sense of loyalty to my co-defendants because I felt like, I didn't have any family, and at that time they were acting like my family. And I feel like if they hadn't, if I hadn't felt like I needed that from them, I probably would have been less susceptible to, what's the word I'm looking for, following along with what they were saying.
At any point in time when you were incarcerated, did your parents ever reach out to you to try to rekindle your relationship or anything?
Yeah, I had a bit of a relationship with my dad before I got locked up. I've always tried to maintain contact with my dad as much as I could, even though I was in foster care. So I did talk to my dad up until he died. My mom, I did not have a relationship with her, and she never tried to reach out because she actually died. I said she died. I found out she died after I got locked up, but she had actually died like 3 months before I got locked up, but I didn't find out until about 9 months, almost a year, after she had died, and about 9 months after me being locked up, that she had died. So she never got the chance to.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Are you able to call right back?
Yeah, I can give a call back. Are you waiting on the phone? There's somebody waiting on the phone, but I can probably call back in just a few minutes after somebody else gets off the phone.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Give me just a few minutes. I'm about to get back in line, and I can give a call back.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
All right. I'll talk to you in a few.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Before we got cut off, one of the questions was kind of combed over. When you were at Nashville, the Tennessee Prison for Women, or I guess it's called Deborah Johnson Rehabilitation Center for Women now, but specifically at that prison, how come you were there? Or I guess how did you get there from where you were before?
Okay, so I was on Max. I got put on Max because my girlfriend and I were living in the room together, and there was a lady that came into our room. Some drama just got started, and like Kayla heard that she was saying that Kayla was going to leave her or leave me to be with her, and it was just a bunch of drama, and it shouldn't have gotten to where it went to. But when Kayla called the lady into our room, she asked her if she had said this. The lady said that she had not been going around saying this stuff, and when she said that, Kayla felt like she lied to her, so Kayla started hitting her, and she got her down on the ground, and when I realized the lady was not fighting back, I pulled Kayla away from her. But when I was asked to write a statement on Kayla and the situation, I would not do it because I felt like, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, sorry, it just got quiet for a second. I felt like it's not a good code of ethics in prison to snitch. It's just something you don't do. And she was my girlfriend, and I loved her, and I didn't want to do it. I felt like I helped the lady as best that I could. I pulled Kayla off of her, and I gave her ice and stuff afterwards. Like I didn't know that when Kayla called her in there that that was exactly what was going to happen. But as soon as I realized that was happening and the lady fought back, I tried to do differently than I had done in the past. But because I wouldn't write a statement on her, they looked at it like that, well, if you can't say what happened and tell us what happened, well, because it happened in a room without a camera in it, we're going to assume that you were part of it, since you can't say that you weren't because you won't write a statement. So I got maxed out too because they were basically trying to blackmail me into writing a statement by saying all of that. And I still wouldn't write a statement, so I spent 3 years on max until I finally took a class and graduated from it to get off of max.
Hope, do you ever have any interactions with any of the high-profile inmates there, specifically any of the girls that were a part of the Lily Lid murders, or I guess Martha Freeman would be another one, or I'm trying to think who else is there that's high-profile. I guess that would really be it.
I'm not sure who the first one is.
So the Lily Lid murders, that would be like Natasha Cornett, Crystal Sturgill, Karen Howell. Those girls.
The last two you mentioned are in my pod currently, and then Martha Freeman. I work with her.
Are you friendly with the two girls?
I mean, I speak to them in passing. I just kind of really stay to myself for the most part. I mean, I have friends and stuff like that, but I just kind of stay mostly to myself. But I try to be friendly with everybody. I don't like being, pardon my French, an asshole.
Oh, she said that she likes to mostly just stay to herself. Hope, James wants to know if you ever had any contact with Natasha Cornett when you were locked up in Nashville.
Not really too much. She lived in a different pod than me. It was in the same unit, but it was a different pod, so I never really talked to her. I didn't really ever have an opportunity to speak with her.
Hope, the warden that's at your prison now, is it a woman there? And if so, do you find it harder to deal with rather than a male figure?
We actually have two male wardens and one female warden. The warden over treatment is a female, and the warden over security and the warden that's like the main warden are both males. But I don't generally talk to them. If I do, I'm usually talking to the warden over treatment because she's if you have an issue, most of the time that's who you go to is the warden over treatment, and she's a female. So we used to have two female wardens and then one male warden, but they just recently changed the main warden.
Yeah, James asked that because he was curious because he knows there's several lawsuits that are filed against the warden in Nashville right now.
Yeah, I don't. Usually, when they do inspection and stuff, when the wardens do come around, that would be the time when they're doing cell inspection. And I'm generally at work, so I don't really have much of an opportunity to speak to them, even if I wanted to. The warden over treatment is in the education building, though, where my workplace is at. And so I do see her from time to time, and she knows me by a first name basis because I've been locked up a fair amount of time. So.
Another question, Hope, if you're comfortable answering this. So, this person says, I'm curious about her sexuality. I'm assuming she's been with men since she has children, and she mentioned having a girlfriend. Did your sexuality change after becoming incarcerated?
I've always been bisexual. My first actual consensual sexual experience was actually with a female. But being locked up with only females, it just kind of gave me more of an opportunity to explore my sexuality and realize that I actually prefer females over men. I consider myself it's still bisexual, but I'm 98% into females over men.
Hope, so when you get out of prison, would you be open to dating a male, or would you feel like you would still be attracted to women? And I guess, what was the last part? Does Tennessee have conjugal visits?
I'm not saying I'm opposed to men completely. I just, at this current time in my life, I'm definitely, which I don't really have a choice because I'm not chasing after a male guard or anything like that. I just feel more connection with a woman, but I mean that could change when I get out. I don't know. That's why I still consider myself bisexual. But I mean, I guess I would be what you would consider pansexual. Rather than bisexual, maybe. I am attracted to a person rather than whether they're male or female. And, like I said in here, all that there is females. So, in the free world, there's men and women. So, I could potentially become attracted to a man on the outside. And as far as conjugal visits, I didn't hear that part of the question.
Oh, just that does Tennessee have conjugal visits set up? Which I don't.
Oh no.
Yeah, I believe it's Washington State, New York, and Connecticut or something like that. That there are the only 3 in the U.S. that have conjugals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think you have to be married.
Yeah.
To do the conjugal visits.
Yeah, married and not have like a violent record or be like a rapist or anything like that,
right.
As far as I know.
That makes sense.
Hope, on a day-to-day basis, how long do you have to spend in your cell locked down?
This prison that I'm at is pretty. It's considered a maximum security prison because on the men's side they have a max unit, but on the women's side, it's really not very maximum security at all. Like, you go into your cell for lockdown at night from 8:30. They do count at 9, and then so basically from 8:30 p.m. until about 5:45 ish. 6 o'clock, you're locked down for the night, and then at 6 o'clock you can come out if you want to. I mean, you can stay in your room, but your door does not have to be locked after they open it. So if you come out at like 5:45, 6 o'clock in the morning, then you're out until about 10:30 that morning. You lock down from 10:30 in the morning until about 12 o'clock for count time so that they can make sure everybody's accounted for. And then you also lock down again in the afternoon from 3 o'clock to 4:30 for another count period until, and then you come out at about 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. and then, you lock down again. Other than that, your doors are open all day long, unless there's like some emergency that happens where, it's like an emergency count, like they've lost somebody or misplaced somebody or, something like that, or if there's like a serious code in the pod, like somebody's fallen or there's like a fight or something, they may temporarily lock you down. But other than that, your doors stay open all day long. You can use the phones whenever you want to. We have kiosks, which are basically computers that we can download music and email and stuff like that. We can download music onto our tablets. And, it's a pretty low security place here. Not much at all like Nashville. I like it. As much as you can like prison anyways.
So another question in the chat is, were you married to the father of your children? And if so, did that end before or after becoming incarcerated?
Oh, I've never been married. So we just basically had a relationship for over 4 years, almost 5. We supposedly were engaged once, but we never got married. We got together when I was like 17 and he was 15, and we broke up about a year before, or almost a year, about 9 months before I got locked up.
Does he have any contact with you, or have you had contact with him since you've been incarcerated?
Yes, I've talked to him a few times. He is actually currently angry with me right now because he heard the podcast that I did, and he didn't know any of the details about why I am locked up, and he is mad. I guess he feels like I lied to him, but we just never, it just never seemed the right time. He never asked me about why I was in prison. He just always assumed that I was innocent and wrongly convicted, and I just never really corrected that because after 3 years of being in the county, I couldn't really talk about anything over the phone because everything was recorded there, and once I got to prison, it just never got brought up, so I just never corrected his perception of things. So he's just always assumed that I just basically was in here for something that I guess I didn't do, and he got quite angry when he found out that I actually was guilty of my crimes and has not had any contact with me.
So he didn't know that you were charged with murder at first when you were arrested in jail?
He knew. He assumed that
that you were innocent?
Like, that it was all my co-defendant's fault, and then I just got arrested along with them. I'm really not 100% sure because I haven't talked to him. A lot of this is assumption on my part because that's the only reason I can think of that why he would be angry with me. Obviously because I committed these crimes, but the only other reason I can think of. that he would be angry with me, other than, that I committed these horrific crimes.
Hope, another question is, did you try to hide any of the victims or call the police immediately?
Yes, I helped hide Grace's body. I did not try to call the police immediately. Like I said, I was still just trying to follow along with my co-defendants because I perceived, them to be my family, because that's how they were portraying themselves. And so I helped hide Grace's body immediately after the fact, but with the other two bodies, we could not move them because it was daylight outside. Because this happened all in one night. So by the time this 3 murders occurred and then we hid Grace's body, it was daylight outside, so we couldn't do anything with the other two bodies. So we just had to cover them up where they were killed at until we could move their bodies the next night. But then we ended up getting arrested that next night and had no opportunity to hide any other bodies.
Hope, since Thanksgiving just passed, do you guys get any type of special food for Thanksgiving or any extra anything, hygiene, or for Christmas or New Year's or anything for that matter, for holidays?
They cook what they call a Thanksgiving meal or whatever, but it's prison food, so it's really not that great. It's supposed to be stuffing and turkey. It's relatively similar to it, I guess, but where I work at, we do get meals brought in from outside places for special occasions that my workplace works for. So I did get a decent Thanksgiving meal. It just was after Thanksgiving. And then for Christmas and stuff like that, they hand out hygiene packs, and they just do a lot of different things around the holidays. Like right now, today they just put up a Christmas tree. So they, at this prison, try to kind of decorate our surroundings a little bit and, kind of brighten the place up so that it's not as dismal around the holidays.
Somebody asked, what are the best prison snacks that inmates make in there?
Well, there's things that are called potato pies. You take chips and meat, whether it's chicken or summer sausage or pepperoni, whatever meat you want to put in there. And you can use rice or noodles, and you basically just layer it with all that and cheese, jalapenos, just all kinds of different stuff. Put some seasoning from a noodle pack in it, and bake it in the microwave for about 8 to 10 minutes. That's my favorite. And then there's also fried rice, where you fry the rice with some mayonnaise in the microwave, and then you can cook it with Pepsi or tea and make it Chinese flavored. There's all kinds of different things. I have a whole paper cookbook of different prison recipes.
Do you have access to the whole shebang chips, Hope?
Oh, I love those things. No, they don't. They don't have them here. They have them at TPW at Deborah K. Johnson. That's where they have them at, but they don't have them here. Unfortunately, they're my favorite though.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. I know we've had you for almost an hour now, so we appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for y'all's time too, and I'll talk to you later, Andrew.
Unforbidden Truth.